Good evening, everybody. We are so excited that you are joining us here tonight for our very first FAQ Zoom session about Friends for Life Orlando 2025. My name is Lee Fickling, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Children with Diabetes. You are catching me after hours in mom mode at this point, so stay tuned for real life that is happening here at my house in your Zoom happening right now. I'm joined by several of my colleagues that work here with me at Children with Diabetes that help to make Friends for Life Orlando the very best conference possible. And at this point, I'm going to let them introduce themselves before we kick things off with our FAQ this evening. So I'm just going to start with Kristen, who is to my left. And you're muted, Kristen. Kristen, you're muted.
Okay, good. Hear me? Okay. All right. I am also in mom mode, and the crying children in the back was why I was muted initially. So, I am Kristen Odell. I am the dietitian for CWD. I do all food decisions, menu planning, and we are going in a new direction this year, which I can't wait to tell you about. My connection to T1D is myself. I've had type 1 diabetes since I was 9. And I like to think that I'm always learning. I'm always learning something new, even in this stage of a game after 27 years. So I'm excited to learn along with you. Who am I passing it to?
It's like toss. It's like we're in recess. You can toss the ball to anybody on the screen.
Hey, then I'll toss to Jen. Let's toss to Jen.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Hansen, and I'm the Youth Program Coordinator with Children with Diabetes. I am joining you today from Toronto, Ontario. I am not in mom mode because I sent my child to the pool. My job with Children with Diabetes is overseeing all things that happen in the youth program. So everything that our children between the ages of 0 and 17 are doing when they're at a Friends for Life conference. I've had diabetes since I was 3 years old, and I have been involved with Children with Diabetes since 2009, and I can't do the math on that one. I'll toss it over to Ashlyn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashlyn. I am the Events and Programs Director for Children with Diabetes. So I oversee all conference logistics from hotel room block to how the rooms are set. I assist Kristen with food, and I also oversee our scholarship program. My connection to diabetes is myself as well. I was diagnosed with type 1 in 2015 at 19 years old. So almost a decade of living with type 1. And I will toss it down to Rachel.
Everyone, so happy to be here tonight. I'm probably the newest member of the Children with Diabetes team. I've been here for about 12 weeks, serving as their new Director of Advancement. My connection to type 1 is I actually received my diagnosis about 4 years ago at the age of 40. So adult diagnosis in my case. But how I interact with Friends for Life is I head up our partnerships for funding. So anything that relates to our industry partners, to grants, to anything that would bring money in to drive our mission forward. But really happy to be here tonight.
So thanks, everybody. I forgot to say at the very beginning, we have our friend Sasha that is here with us. You will see that she is our chat bot this evening. She is actually there behind the scenes trying to be able to help us with your questions that may come in through the chat feature of this webinar. Sasha is our creative director at Children with Diabetes. She is amazing and helps us look beautiful and does our theming for the conferences and things like that. Sasha was diagnosed with diabetes at age 3, and her diabetes is now 30 years old. And I forgot to mention at the very beginning of this, my connection to diabetes. I am the parent to 15-year-old teen twins, Ava and Davis. My daughter Ava was diagnosed with diabetes when she was 3. So her diabetes is now 12 years old. Her diabetes is a tween, but she is a teen. And Davis has autism. So he is my type awesome that will be coming to the conference with me. And excited this year to be able to bring Ava's new boyfriend, Jacob, with us. Jacob is also a green band. He was diagnosed 4 years ago. So he will be a first timer experiencing this for the very first time with you all that are first timers here with us tonight. So again, we're really excited that you all have been here, that you're here with us. We hope we can answer your questions. This will be our first of 2 Zooms that we do preparing you for Friends for Life Orlando. So before we get started, just speaking about on behalf of Sasha, you all have seen our theming that we have for this upcoming conference. The theme that we have is superheroes. So we very much encourage you all to sort of dress in theme if you want to, especially for our banquet. That we have on Thursday night. But before we sort of talk anymore about the specifics of the conference, I'm going to turn it over to Ashlyn, who is our events and programs director, for her to be able to give us an overview sort of what the conference week looks like. Then we'll turn it back over to Jen to let her talk a little bit about youth programming. Kristen will talk about food at the conference, and then we'll try to answer some of your questions along the way. If you do have questions, please feel free to put those into our Q&A. And we can answer your questions in the Q&A box. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Ashlyn for an overview of the conference week ahead of us.
Yeah, so as you've probably seen, our conference schedule starts on Tuesday. So when you look at the dates, it goes Tuesday to Sunday. One of the first questions we get is, when do I need to arrive? When does the fun begin? So the fun will actually begin as soon as all of you start showing up, but the conference fun begins on Wednesday. So if you want to arrive on Tuesday, you can register with us on Tuesday, but there are no sessions until Wednesday. Registration is open. Registration is live. Our scholarship applications are also open and live and will remain open until April 16th. So if you take a look at that registration and the hotel cost and you say, this just isn't affordable for our family, please apply for a scholarship. We have amazing fundraisers and donors who help us make the scholarship program possible. So we would love to consider your family for a scholarship. Conference schedule: Wednesday, we will begin with a day full of sponsored sessions. All of our sponsors will join us to do focus groups and product theaters and kind of teach you all about the latest and greatest and get your feedback on what they have to come. While the parents are in those sponsored sessions, the kiddos will be in their youth programming sessions, and Jen will talk a little bit more about that and how that's broken up shortly. But the kiddos will be in their youth programming sessions Wednesday through Friday, while the adults are in their adult programming. We do our conference programming put on by Children with Diabetes Thursday and Friday. And so the adults there are 8 to 9 consecutive sessions per hour. So there is never a short of sessions that could apply to you. And Marissa, unfortunately, was not able to join us tonight, but she would want me to say that we are going to actually divide up the sessions this year based on level of intensity, level of diabetes knowledge required. So if you are newly diagnosed, you can go to the level 1 sessions. And if you are a pro and you've been doing this for 50 years, you can go to those pro sessions. That will be a little bit higher level, a little bit more sciencey to learn things that you don't already know after living with diabetes for a long while. I'd love to talk about food and beverage. I'll let Kristen get to that in a second, but I want to toss it to Jen to talk a little bit about our youth program.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ashlyn. So I'll give you just an overview of what the youth program is at Friends for Life Orlando, and probably lots of questions will pop up into your head. So there's a Q&A function that you can drop those in, and if we see them coming up, someone will tell me to hit on that point. Otherwise, we can circle back to them, but I'll try to give you a really big overview. So our youth program at Friends for Life happens on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday during the conference. Whenever you as an adult are in a session for adults, we are providing programming for the youth. So that happens in 1-hour chunks separated by 1-hour breaks or 1.5-hour lunch blocks. So you will never be away from your child for more than 1 hour. We are excited to be with them for all of those hours. So 4 sessions during each of those 3 days. Our youth program runs for everyone who is ages 0 to 17. And within that, the ages are split up into groups. So our Kiddie Cove is 0 to 5. Our elementary program is 6 to 8. This year, we are splitting our teens into Teen 1.0 and Teen 2.0. So our 9 and 10-year-olds will be together, and our 11 and 12-year-olds will be together. And then our 13 to 17-year-olds will also be split so that we can have some subgroups within the teen groups. That's new for this year. All of the youth will be doing programming that is based on the Friends for Life curriculum. And that curriculum has been developed by our clinical director, Marissa, who's not able to be here tonight, but she spent some time looking at the American Diabetes Association, as well as the ISPAD, so Pediatric and Adolescent Diabetes guidelines that just help us understand what developmentally is the most appropriate education to be providing to youth. But we make sure to do that in really fun ways. So, for example, our teens might have the opportunity to play a game of Jeopardy, and all of the things that they're learning through Jeopardy are coming through those guidelines. Similar, there may be some play-based education for our 6 to 8-year-olds with a diabetes theme all the way. A big question that often comes up is we talk a lot about diabetes, but what about all of our kiddos that don't have diabetes? So our youth program is for everybody who is under the age of 18 at the conference, whether you have diabetes or you don't. So we'll have lots of folks who love someone with diabetes. So they're either a child of a parent with type 1, or they're a sibling of someone with type 1. And sometimes there's other relationships as well, but they somehow have someone in their life with type 1 diabetes or who is very interested in type 1 diabetes. And so all of our programming keeps that in mind. There will be certain sessions where those kids are actually split up. So our kids with type 1 diabetes will be doing a session, and our kids without will be doing a session. But everything is, we plan it very carefully to be as inclusive as possible. Within our age groups, another question that often comes up is who's taking care of my kids? That's a great question. So we have an incredible group of volunteers that lead each age group. Those volunteers have applied to work with the program, and it's a very competitive process to get in and to get one of these spots as a volunteer. Our leads, who are the people who are actually planning the program, they started working a couple months ago to get the process ready for Orlando. So they started putting in all the work to figure out what our actual sessions are going to look like, what our teams are going to look like. Underneath those leads, there are anywhere from 15 to 30 volunteers working in those age groups. They all have some connection to diabetes. And on top of that, there are healthcare providers in the rooms as well. The healthcare providers all have some strong connection to diabetes. They're almost all of them are working professionally in the diabetes space. And their job is to make sure that you are kept in the loop if anything happens in those rooms, diabetes-wise, that needs some extra care. They're there to take care of low blood sugars, and they're there to text you or message you if there's a high blood sugar or something that you might have maybe you'll communicate with them before you come in that you want to be alerted if a blood sugar is over 250. They'll make sure that happens. They'll keep notes, and they'll take very, very good care of your kiddos from a diabetes perspective. I will maybe let that linger because that's a lot of youth information, but happy to answer any questions as we go on if other youth questions pop up.
While we talk about sorry, Lee, youth families, before I forget, another question that pops up with families with multiple children is the hotel situation. Where can my family stay if I have more than 2 children and we are a family of 5, let's say? We have a room block that is at Disney's Port Orleans Riverside Resort. Those rooms are designed to hold 5 people. You would have to arrange transportation to Coronado Springs every day, but those rooms we are able to get at our conference rate. And so as long as you're comfortable arranging transportation, we can help you get a room at that resort should you need one. Just reach out to us at conference@childrenwithdiabetes.com. I will have Sasha put that in the chat. And we can help you get a room arranged that will fit your family.
I was gonna I'm sorry, there's the dog barking once again. I was going to make an announcement, which I forgot at the very beginning. Because you all are going to be with us at Friends for Life Orlando, or maybe you're going to be with us next week in Arlington. One of the things that's really important to know about our theming for the week is that we use wristbands to be able to identify people at the conference. So when we think about having 2,000 people that are there, Kristen on her screen right now, if you can look, it's a little bit blurry. But you can see what there we go, perfect, what Kristen is holding up. So people that have diabetes, whether that's type 1 or type 2, they will be wearing a green wristband. People that love someone with diabetes wear the orange wristband, and people that need to eat gluten-free, whether they have celiac or whether they have a preference to eat gluten-free, they wear the yellow wristband. So whenever you come to the conference and you go through registration, you'll receive a registration packet, your lanyard that has your name on it, and then you'll be given one of those wristbands. And so I think one of the most exciting parts of being at Friends for Life for me is once we receive our wristbands and we sort of are out and about, both at Coronado Springs and then even in, the Disney park or at Disney Springs or just sort of around the Orlando area, is looking for our family at Friends for Life and looking for the different people that have on the wristbands. It's one of my favorite parts of coming to the conference. So just wanted to kind of alert you that that's how you'll know. Because I think a lot of times, especially if you're coming early, and you register, and you're sort of wondering, well, I wish my kids had somebody to hang out with at the pool. All you need to do is to either start looking for the diabetes devices that people are wearing or look for the wristbands. And that's how you'll know that you're part of our family. We also work very closely with the staff at Coronado Springs and the cast members that are there. So they also understand what the wristbands mean. They understand, if somebody has an urgent low blood sugar and they need to be able to respond very quickly, how to be able to help us out with those outside of food that the conference is providing. But speaking of food, that seems like a good time for me to be able to turn it over to Kristen, who is our dietitian, to be able to talk about the meals that we serve at Friends for Life, the different method that we're going to be using this upcoming conference, and something that we trialed in Anaheim when we were there in October. So I'll turn it over to Kristen to let her talk all things food and carb related.
So we have taken a lot of your feedback of old attendees who have come to Orlando, and we are taking diabetes in the wild is a term that we like to use. And you are going to use your skills in order to carb count our buffets. And we're going to hold your hand while doing it. So if you have questions, that's where I come in. We have a team of dietitians who will be able to answer any question while that food is still on your plate. So you come through the line, and let's say your kiddo added 2 spoonfuls of mashed potatoes, or mac and cheese is a big staple at our buffet. And you're not really sure of where to even start that carb count, we are going to be able to walk you through the process, and then you can leave with an estimated carb count that you will now know how to do that. Before, we listed all of our carb counts, but we felt like it was just giving you that information without any knowledge on how to get to that point. So we're taking a step back and trying to help everyone take the knowledge that they can while we're there holding your hand, so that you can start at CWD Orlando and go out and be able to do it yourself when you leave our conference. What else do I need to talk about? Allergies is what I need to talk about. If you have allergies, I want to make sure that you double check your registration to make sure that any and all allergies are listed for all of your attendees, because that really helps. I give that spreadsheet over to our Disney team, and they are vigilant when they look at it, and they make sure that they know all of our food allergies within our conference and all of the food that is in the buffets. And we really have a lot of food options that can or alternatives in the back, like with our chefs that are making, so that you have a full and complete meal, even with an allergy. So don't ever hesitate to ask me, ask our team of dietitians, ask a Disney chef. They are very, very aware of allergies. And if you have any concerns before we are all together, you can email me at kristen@childrenwithdiabetes.com. I will make sure that my email is within the chat.
I think one of the other things that we're doing this year, which I'm really excited about as a mom who has to sort of go into the unknown of conferences and being with my kids and traveling with them, we are putting the menus online this year. So you are going to know in advance what food is going to be offered at the breakfasts, at the lunches, at the dinners, at the banquet. All of that's going to be available to you in advance. So certainly if you have a smaller child with diabetes and you're helping them carb count, or you have a picky kid who doesn't, want to eat conference food, you're going to be able to know what food we're providing at the conference up front. So that's really exciting for me. So I can sort of cut down with the millions of questions of what do you think they're going to be having. Now we're going to be able to pull up the webpage and be able to talk it over sort of as a family about these are the choices that they have. I think one of the other mom tips that I can give you from somebody who has been to the conference multiple times is we order groceries. There's a lot of different vendors that you can use, but we will order groceries to have delivered to Coronado. I use Garden Grocer just because that's the one that I started using in the very beginning when I first came to Friends for Life a billion years ago, and I just sort of stick into the habit of that. You can place your order with some of those vendors now, and they offer sort of discounts on your orders if you do it in advance, sort of, 90 days in advance, 60 days in advance, 30 days in advance. They sort of give you a price cut on some of those groceries. But a lot of families will do that to sort of order some staples and some snacks to be able to have in your room, just in case if your kid decides that they don't want to eat the food that we're having at the buffet, or for some reason they need an extra snack, or you want to have chocolate milk boxes in your room at night, or you want to be able to have a breakfast in the room of something that that your kids will prefer. So that's always something that we do to be able to have in our room.
And I want to pause super quick. Great advice. We are a nut-free conference, though. So while you are welcome to have nuts within your room, and I know that I have nuts in my room, you can consume them within your room. And I would ask that we wash our hands before we come back into conference space. But any other food not containing nuts, you are welcome to bring into our conference. But we have very severe nut allergies within our conference, so that is not a risk we want to put our attendees up against.
So speaking of risk, that's a great segue into a question that we have that came into our chat room that you all probably are not able to see, but we can see it as panelists. If your children are best buddies, but are supposed to be in different age groups, is there a way that they can be put together anyway? And so unfortunately, the answer to that is no. Because of our insurance that we have for the conferences, they really do have to stay within their youth programming area for which they are assigned. And that is based upon their birthday. So as you are registering them for the conference, that you are asked about what is the age of your child, what is their birthday, and that's going to assign them to a room. Jen talked briefly about that right before we officially kicked off this webinar this evening. But kids that are ages 0 to 5 are in our Kitty Cove. And so that is a specific area, like Jen said, that has all of our youth programming areas have educational based components based upon the age of the child that is in that specific group. So Kitty Cove will be ages 0 through 5. Elementary is age 6 through 8. Tween is aged 9 through 12, but as Jen said, the tweens now are going to be broken into two different groups. So ages 9 and 10 will be in Tween 1.0, and ages 11 and 12 are going to be in Tween 2.0. We are really pushing my math skills this late at night. And then finally, we have the teens that are ages 13 through 17. And the teens also are going to be subdivided into two different groups. So ages 13 13 and 14 will be in teens 1.0, and then teens 2.0 is 15 through 17. Kids that are your young adults, we have young adult programming as well. And young adults in the children with diabetes world is typically ages 18 through 26. And so that just kind of gives you a guideline as to, which youth programming area your child will be in. If you're coming with a friend, if you're bringing friends with you to Friends for Life, if they've made friends that happen to be in different age groups, if they have siblings that are in different age groups, and you're encountering some resistance from your child about sort of not wanting to stay within their own programming area, the best advice that I could give you, again, sort of as the chief mom officer, is to be able to help your kids understand these sessions are 1 hour. So they're only going to be in their age groups for 1 hour. Then you're going to be able to reunite at a snack break. You're going to be able to reunite at lunch. You're going to be able to see each other, once programming ends for the day. And what I have always tried to tell my own kids is that, you can do anything for an hour. And so I really encourage them, even if they're saying, I didn't like it, I was bored, I hated this icebreaker that we were playing, I didn't have any friends. We really do try to encourage them to go back and try it one more time just to see whether they have a connection. And so whenever we're talking about exciting things in age group programming, I'm going to turn it over to Ashlyn to make a breaking news announcement for everybody regarding something exciting for our teen program.
So our teens typically go to a park on Friday. That is a rite of passage. When you turn 13 years old at Friends for Life, you get to go away from mom and dad as a group and go to a park. In the past few years, we have gone to Typhoon Lagoon. This year, I'm excited to announce that we're going to take the teens to Volcano Bay. And I'm going to let Jen talk a little bit about handing your kids off, your teens off for that day, because I know that can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yes, thanks, Ashlyn. And for folks who don't know or who are madly Googling right now, Volcano Bay is part of Universal Studios. And so it's very exciting, especially for some of our kids who have been in the teen program for a number of years. This is going to be brand new. They don't know yet, but now you know. So uh, you're the first. So if that does sound a little bit scary to you, just a little bit of extra information. So this is something that Children with Diabetes has been doing for many, many, many years and has a lot of experience with this, the practice of taking your kids off-site for a day. Our teen program works really hard to make sure that your kids are totally equipped and are feeling totally capable of managing the challenges that might come with being off-site and being at a water park. So they will spend some time, especially with the healthcare providers that are in that room, talking about diabetes plans for the day. What are people going to be storing their diabetes devices in? Where are we going to be keeping everything? What are our check-ins going to be looking like? Where are our home bases? Where are the places where you'll always be able to find someone from Children with Diabetes? They will walk through the entire day. What will lunch look like? How are we getting lunch? And we will have some updates on lunch soon. We don't have them quite yet, but it's likely going to look like a private space that we'll have for dining. And we will also have a space where we'll be able to keep all of our stuff. And we'll always have some Friends for Life volunteers in that space, making sure that everyone is feeling well taken care of. We also send extra volunteers along on this day. So we typically send a few extra healthcare providers, as well as a few extra folks from our support team, who are just the people that are very good at making sure that everyone is staying safe and everyone's staying accounted for. They will typically leave early-ish in the morning. We're still working on timelines because this is a new venue we're heading to. And they will be back before you end your last session of the day. So you'll have a little bit of time without them, but we do our best to make sure that everyone is as comfortable as possible. You will also, if you are the parent of a teenager, you will get a frequently asked questions document that goes through everything that you might need to know for the day. And you'll have the chance to touch base with our leads in that teen age group to get all of your questions answered if you are feeling a little bit nervous. I'm also just going to mention too another part of the program, the youth program that I didn't speak to previously, but that's our sunflower team. And I don't know if Lee might maybe speak to this a little bit more, but just knowing that if your child requires extra accommodation, we have an entire group of volunteers who are on site and who are trained and who are led by some really wonderful staff to be able to make sure that we can do our best to provide accommodations that your children need. Especially during the offsite day. And so if the talk of this is something that makes you feel nervous for reasons around accommodations, we want to talk with you. And maybe Lee might add a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. So we use, I don't know whether you all have seen this or not at various airports or maybe sporting venues where you've been. We talk about we are part of the Hidden Disability Sunflower Initiative. So if you've seen sunflower lanyards or you've seen some sort of sunflower symbol at different airports and that type of thing, that's because that represents people that may have hidden disabilities, specifically those that may be neurodiverse. And we participate in that initiative at our Friends for Life conferences. So whenever you check in at registration, I should back up. Before you get to registration, whenever you register for the conference, we ask questions about, do you have any sort of needs that we need to know about in terms of accommodations? The best way for you to be able to think about that is if you have a 504 plan or if you have an IEP at your child's school, I would go ahead and check yes on that. So then that way we are sort of aware about what type of accommodations your child may be receiving in the school system, so we can explore whether we're able to implement similar accommodations at Friends for Life. I think one of the things that stresses me out every single time that my kids get ready to move from one age group to another is that, I feel very comfortable with the leaders. I feel comfortable with the volunteers that are working in them. And then just as soon as I feel like it's okay to leave my kids for an hour and go to my own sessions, then they grow up and they move into the next group. And I know that the Friday Park Day was something that really concerned me in the beginning before my kids became teens and started participating in that teen program. So much so that during that very first year that they went, they made sure that all of the sessions that I presented were on Friday. So that way I was sort of busy doing my own presentations as a member of the faculty and not worrying about what was happening at the water park with my kids. But I can promise you from a mom of somebody with diabetes and from a mom of a kid with autism, they have the best time. They are completely supportive. As Jen said, we have members of our sunflower team that will wear yellow polos. The different people that work at the conference will have on different polos during the week. Mine is pink tonight, but you'll see yellow polos. Those individuals are our volunteers with the sunflower team. We have one sunflower team in each one of the youth programming areas. And then we'll also have sunflower members that will be going with them to Universal Studios on Friday. And should there be an issue with your child, if they happen to be on the sunflower team, then we are happy to be able to work with them to be able to help bring them back to Coronado if needed. So Lauren Salco is our leader of the sunflower team. She may possibly be on here in the background tonight listening. And so one of the things that we're happy to do is to be able to meet with you in advance to talk about Friends for Life, to talk about what type of accommodations we can do to make sure that you and your kids feel very comfortable while they're there. One of the things that I will mention right now, feel free to put your questions into the chat so that way we can make sure that we've got about 30 minutes left in our time here tonight. And I just want to make sure that we have time to be able to answer all of your questions that may come in. So feel free to chat those over to us right now, and we'll try to answer those live here. And if you have a question that you sort of need a deeper conversation about, you can feel free to email any of us. Sasha put conference at Children with Diabetes in the chat earlier. You can reach any of us there with that. And so a question just came in, which I'm going to turn this one back over to Ashlyn. Can you explain what the exhibit hall is all about?
Yeah, so we have a massive exhibit hall. And if you've never been to any sort of professional conference like this is basically a big room with really high ceilings. And it starts out on Monday empty. And by Wednesday, it is full of tables and booths for all of our different industry partners, small businesses, other nonprofit organizations. And this is a place where you can walk through and you can see what is happening in diabetes, what new tech is coming, what tech is currently available. You can stop by small businesses that may be selling stickers to help adhere your devices. And if you have been to professional conferences before, but you've never been to Friends for Life, our exhibit hall is quite the transformative experience. This past year, our theme was dinosaurs, and there were multiple animatronic dinosaurs that were actually roaring and moving, life size, that you could take your photo with. So our sponsors and exhibitors really go all out, and we actually began conversations with them this week about their exhibit hall booths, and a lot of them have really good ideas. So really exciting. We open that with a big grand opening ceremony on Wednesday night, and it's a mad rush of all 2,000 of you into there to run and grab all of the free tchotchkes and things they may be handing out. That's something else worth noting is if you are a tchotchke lover and a lover of free t-shirts and goodies, you may want to bring an extra little bag because our exhibitors give out lots of things. Last year, I came home with 5 or 6 stuffed dinosaurs. So be prepared to bring home some fun goodies from our exhibit hall. Something else that I'm just looking through the Q&A. Something else that was brought up that sort of relates to the exhibit hall is, will there be any special guest? So, yes, there are likely to be some special guests. Our sponsors usually will bring partners of theirs that have type 1. So, we've had some really cool people like race car drivers, professional baseball players, celebrities, country music artists. So, we don't know yet who those special guests will be, but I can almost guarantee that there are going to be people worth taking your photo with and worth meeting.
So a couple of questions that came in. One question is, will the agenda and schedule be released ahead of time before the conference? Yes, it will. We are actively working on that right now, just trying to finalize things in terms of adult programming with some of our faculty members, and then wrapping things up with the youth programming as well. But that schedule will be released very far in advance of the conference. So you'll be able to see. There's a possibility that some things, may change around between now and July, but the schedule will definitely be released ahead of the conference. If you want to sort of get a sneak peek at sort of what that programming looks like and get an idea of what youth programming would look like, you can look at our Arlington schedule right now to be able to see what our schedule is going to look like for next weekend whenever we're having a regional conference. Friends for Life Orlando is much larger than that. Arlington will just be a weekend conference, but that'll sort of give you an idea of the flow of what a conference day looks like. You can also go back and look at our past schedules that we have. Sasha's just put the link into the chat there for you. Another question that came in, oops, sorry about that, talks about what do we need to arrange for ourselves and what does Friends for Life arrange for yourself, which is a great question. So if you receive, I'm going to let Ashlyn talk about scholarships here in just a second to the conference itself. But in terms of what you need to do whenever you register for the conference and you pay the conference registration fee, that will take care of the conference related matters. So you will get a t-shirt for the week. The meals for the conference will be included. That will also include all of the different activities that we have at the conference for the week. Transportation, because we are at Coronado Springs. I'm sorry for that dog barking. My kids are bouncing around on the floor upstairs, causing the dogs to bark. Transportation around Disney property is provided by Disney. So if you decide that you're going to come a few days early or you're going to stay a few days later and you decide you want to go to the parks or to Disney Springs, there are buses that Disney will provide that will take you from point A to point B. But really, once you get to Friends for Life and you're there for the conference, you don't have a need to be able to leave Coronado Springs because all of the activities that we do are based right there at the hotel. The hotel reservations are up to you. So you will register for the conference first, and then you will book your hotel room. We will have links that are available on our website for that. And then airfare is also your responsibility, and your the transportation from the airport should you choose to fly in. There is a shuttle that they have that is through Mears that you can book for your airfare, for your transportation from Orlando Airport to get to Coronado Springs. A lot of people will do that. And that's a cost-effective way to be able to get from the airport back over to the hotel. So again, your conference registration fee is going to pay for those conference-related meals that we have, and there'll be a list of all of those things that's included with your conference registration on our website. The other thing that I wanted to mention before I turn it back over to Ashlyn to talk about our scholarship program is that the dress code that we have. So there's a lot of times that people will ask, what do I need to wear? Just for everybody to be aware, this is July in Orlando, in Florida, and it is very hot outside, and it is very cold, like Elsa frozen cold inside of the rooms at Coronado Springs. So we always encourage people to bring a sweatshirt or to bring like a light jacket whenever you're in the convention space at Coronado Springs. We will wear very casual clothes. So shorts are completely fine. Jeans are fine for the week activities. Bring your bathing suit because there are multiple pools that are there on site, and a lot of kids love to go and hang out at the pools. So do the parents like to go hang out at the pool. So you want to make sure that you have a bathing suit, comfortable walking shoes. The kids will participate in something called Sports Central, which is sort of like our PE area. And so they're going to probably need closed-toed shoes for that whenever they go to participate in Sports Central. But again, we're very casual. Pointing out that the banquet on Thursday night is sort of our big celebration event that we have at the conference. And because it's superhero themed, you'll probably see a lot of different versions of superhero related costumes at that. So you may have some people that are dressing up fully like the Incredibles in full costume. You may have somebody that's just wearing like a superhero t-shirt or their conference t-shirt. So that just kind of gives you an idea about what to plan for the week. There are laundry facilities that are available on site at Coronado Springs, sort of spread out throughout the property. And typically I'll try to do laundry once while we're there, just because bringing a whole family with that many clothes, and some of those clothes are wet. I try to see if I can do it one time before we leave. And you pay for them there on site, and they have a laundry detergent in the laundry rooms as well. I'm going to turn it over to Ashlyn now to talk about our scholarship program.
Yeah, so I briefly touched on this at the beginning of the call, but if you start looking into this and you've not registered yet and you just say, we cannot financially afford to do this, and if you feel like there's no way for you to attend without assistance, we have a program that's designed to help families like that. So if you go to ffl.is/scholarships, Sasha will put it in the chat as well. You can apply for our scholarship program. And we have scholarships designed for families with a child with diabetes, families with an adult with diabetes. And we also have a young adult scholarship program that is designed for those attendees ages 18 to 26 that have type 1 as well. So a little bit about what that covers. Our young adult scholarship covers one young adult, their hotel room from Tuesday to Sunday, and it also covers a small transportation stipend that will usually cover a flight or mileage to drive if that attendee chooses to do so. Our family scholarships cover registration for up to 4 people, the hotel room for up to 4 people, and transportation is not included for our families. So keep that in mind as you're planning. We will cover your family's conference expenses and your family's hotel expenses, but we will not cover transportation for your family. So we have began that process already. You can apply at the link in the chat, and we will close that process on April 16th. The reason why we do April 16th is because that is tax day, famous tax day. By that point, you should have all of your tax paperwork ready to be able to be submitted to us. And the only reason we ask for your tax paperwork is to verify that the story you tell is accurate and that your income is what you have reflected on your application. So just be sure if you're applying for that scholarship that you truly are being honest in your application and you're telling your full story so that we can make sure that those funds are allotted appropriately to the families that need them. It's a very competitive process. We have a panel of about 14 or so people that will review those applications. They review them blinded, so they will not see your name. The only person that sees your name is me. They will not see your name. They will not know any identifiable information. They will rank your short answer questions on a scale from 1 to 5. And then we sort the applications from highest to lowest score. Typically, we're able to award 30 to 40 applications per year for Friends for Life Orlando. And we usually have over 100 applicants. So really take your time on that application, tell your story so that our review committee can really see what your need is. And if you do not need assistance, any extra assistance, like you feel like, okay, we've got a family of 6, we can pay for one of our rooms, but it's not financially feasible for us to pay for the second room, say that in your application and only apply for the people that you want in that second hotel room that we would be paying for. Those are situations we run into quite a lot with larger families. So just be sure to let us know and we're happy to consider that.
Thanks, Ashlyn. So another question came in about a team that may not be able to swim. Do they have to go for Friday for Volcano Bay? They do not have to go on Friday. So whether it's the fact that they can't swim, maybe they just don't want to go, maybe swimming's just not their thing, they do not have to go. I might still encourage them to go because there may be other things that they can do other than sort of getting into like a wave pool and, nearly drowning. I think that there are other things that they can do. I think that the wave pool was the thing that worried me so much about being at the water parks for the last 2 years. Both of my kids can swim, but I very much worried about that. Could they swim and be able to keep up with the wave pool? They did absolutely fine. But I think there's a lot of other activities for them to do with their friends. So I think that even though they might not be able to swim, I still would encourage them to participate. And then if for some reason they get there and they decide, listen, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to go back, then we can sort of activate the Sunflower team members and activate, our rides home to get the person back over to Coronado Springs. But I would encourage them to participate to the extent that they possibly can. Another question came in about restaurants on site for meals that are not included in the conference. There are several restaurants at Coronado Springs that are there. I will just warn you in advance that they will be very crowded. So our break times are somewhat limited. Certainly like in the morning snack break and in the afternoon snack break, if you decide that, your kid wants to go get a little snack, there are quick service restaurants that are there that are set up sort of market style to where you can do grab and go food. And then you can also get hot prepared meals. And that's normally open from 7 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And that's called El Mercado. It's very close to the convention center. There's also a couple of other restaurants that are there that are more sit down service. That you can make a reservation for to be able to go in and eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So those are available there on site. There are there's a fancier restaurant. There are several bars that are there on site too, several coffee shops. There's also a gift shop in Coronado Springs that has some food items in the back that you can grab, like in terms of milk or coffee cream for your room, or like a box of donuts or some fruit or something like that. They'll have that over in the gift shop as well. So there are places to be able to eat. A lot of times we will get tired of that and we may decide that we're going to do DoorDash or Uber Eats in order to be able to get food. And so there's a lot of different options that are in the Orlando area that can come pretty quickly over to Coronado Springs. So that was a great question about the food.
It may be worth Kristen just going through what is included as of now, as far as meals. Obviously, this is subject to change if we get sponsorship for more meals, but I'd love for Kristen to kind of talk through everything as of now that will be included.
And I'm going to have to say, I don't have the schedule in front of me to be able to do that from memory. So is there any chance you'll help me out with that?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
That's okay.
So as of now, so Tuesday is just arrival day, registration day. There are no meals on Tuesday. Wednesday, we typically do not offer any meals aside from a little bit of light finger food at the exhibit hall grand opening. However, we do have a sponsor for a Wednesday afternoon snack break this year. So that is a new offer, but you will need to be prepared for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Wednesday. If you're someone like me that's okay with cheese and fruit for dinner, then you'll be fine for dinner on Wednesday. Otherwise, prepare for dinner. Thursday, we will feed you all 3 of your meals. So we will feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the banquet. We will also feed you a snack break in the afternoon, and we'll have a coffee break in the morning. Friday, we will feed you lunch. So you'll be, yeah, just lunch. We'll feed you lunch on Friday. And then Saturday, you are on your own. No meals are covered Saturday. Sunday morning, we will have our farewell breakfast, which we have always offered Mickey waffles and mimosas. So be sure to stick through Sunday. A lot of people will ask, do I need to stay for that farewell breakfast? We bring some Disney friends. We actually chose those friends yesterday. So really excited for you guys to see who that will be this year. We bring Disney friends and we have Mickey waffles, and it's a good time to say your goodbyes before we all head home.
So I'm going to take a huge tangent. It has nothing to do about food, but I still feel like it's an appropriate thing for us to mention is Saturday. What in the world are we doing? So there are sponsored events that we have within our conference space. But I also want you to know that a lot of our FFL friends are headed to the pool, and you will find us from our wristbands, and you will find us from our CGMs and our pumps hanging out on towels on the chairs. So it is a great day to the week is where you're building and meeting people and having lots of conversations. And then Saturday is a day to just chill with your new FFLs. So if anyone is questioning, oh, should I stay until Sunday? It is well worth a day to hang out on Saturday. I'm sure there's more to add, but
Yeah,
just
one
a
of the questions that I think that's a great segue into one of the questions that we just got about discounted park tickets. And then whether you should go during the conference week or whether you should go before or after. I would say definitely do not go once the conference starts because you're going to be so busy with things that are conference related. And one word of advice that I could give you is that you may buy these park tickets and you may think that you're going to be going on Wednesday night. And as soon as your kids meet their new best friends that they didn't know existed until they arrived in Orlando, they are not going to want to go with you to the parks. So if you decide that you're going to do a park ticket, I would recommend doing that either before the conference begins or after the conference ends. So a lot of people will extend their stay or arrive a little bit early. We do have discounted park tickets. Sasha's going to put those into the chat so that way you all can see that. If you're buying just a 1 day ticket, the discount is really not there. So you might as well just buy your 1 day tickets directly from Disney. But if you're buying multiple days, you can use our park ticket link to be able to purchase those tickets. One thing that I do like is that we have an after 1 p.m. ticket and we have an after 5 p.m. ticket. So a lot of times people that will arrive early, you may not want to do a full day at one of the parks, but you can do sort of an after 1 or an after 5. But once the conference begins, I would not do that at all because, again, you're going to be so busy with things that are conference related. And like Kristen said, I think that, in the beginning, my family and I sort of thought, well, Saturday will be our park day. And there will be people that will go to the park on Saturday. But where I much prefer to spend my Saturday is at the pool. And just sort of hanging around. That's the day sometimes that, I'll take my laundry over to the pool and I'll, sit in the pool while my laundry is doing its thing. It's a much more chill day on Saturday, sort of getting ready for our family fun events on Saturday night. And so it's just a great way just to kind of relax. Again, what I find is that your kids are going to make friends so quickly once they get there that they're going to try to peace out away from you and go off with their friends. And then that's going to give you an opportunity just to kind of be able to chill out. So great question about that. But you can go to the parks, you can go to the water parks if you want to. But again, I would just advise to do that either before the conference starts or after the conference ends. One note that came in that Sasha said, which I think is really important, is to bring swim shoes because the concrete is really hot at the pools. That is a great comment, Sasha. You absolutely probably need swim shoes or flip-flops or something like that to be able to get around the pool area. There, the big pool has a water slide. It has a hot tub. Not that you want to get in the hot tub in July in Orlando, but there is a hot tub there. There is a beach volleyball court, and there's also like a little outside snack bar and bar at the big pool. They typically have music. Disney will also have games in the afternoon. Disney will also do a movie night on the lawn on property that's not associated with our conference, but that's just something that they do at Coronado Springs. So there'll be other activities that'll be going on at Coronado Springs at the same time that we're there.
Something that I had told to me that I thought was valuable advice was if you don't already have a business card, you can make a family business card to be able to pass to your brand new friends with the parents' names, the children's names, email addresses, phone numbers, whatever you are willing to give to your friends. And it's a great way so that as soon as you walk down the hallway in our very large conference center with our very large group of attendees, the chances of seeing that person might not happen again for you to be able to catch their information. So I highly recommend bringing something that has that info that you can quickly pass, that you don't lose each other.
One of the other things that there was a note that was up earlier in the chat, and I'm glad that question was asked. One of the other things that we do informally is meetups during the week of the conference. And so that list of meetups that we have is continuing to grow and grow. I feel like we had 100 meetups last year in Orlando. Everything from my very favorite Taylor Swift meetup, where we exchanged our friendship bracelets, to single parents, moms meetups, dads meetups. The young adults had their own meetup. It was just sort of any sort of affinity group or special interest group that you could think of. People set up meetups for those, and that could be, let's meet at the Laguna Bar outside and have margaritas, or let's meet over in El Mercado and have waffles together for breakfast, or let's take a walk around the lake in the morning. And so that could be anything from people that loop, any type of sort of connection that you may have. People that are from Ohio meet up. So really there's a billion different ways to be able to have meetups. We will have some of those pre-established. And then we'll also have a whiteboard over in our first timers area, to where if you just decide that you want to start a meetup of your own, you're welcome to be able to kind of put that information out there, and then people can join you on site. One of the other things that came in, which I think is important, about insulin in the refrigerator: please do not put your insulin in the refrigerator in your room. Those refrigerators in the room are actually cool beverage coolers. Is that what they're called, Ashlyn? Coolers.
Yeah, they're beverage coolers, and they do not maintain a um, steady temperature that is safe to put your insulin. So your insulin either will not be cold enough, or it will get too cold and it will freeze. We have had that happen. So do not rely on the beverage coolers in the room for your insulin.
Another thing that came in, oh, sorry, Kristen, go ahead.
No, and if it does happen to you, even if you hear this sentence and it does happen to you, this is the place for it to happen. And reach out. Someone will have something that you need. If you need a supply, you ran out of something, you didn't bring enough, this is the moment. You just need to communicate within the page, which I think is a good segue to go to our Facebook page, which Sasha is going to put in our little chat, so that you can get in all the know as much as possible, post it in there, and there will be a flood of people who are willing to help you.
One of the comments that came in, which is really cute, which I adored this idea, is that kids will sometimes make friends with people, and then they will have sleepovers on Friday or Saturday night. So just prepare yourselves for that, because once they've been there with their new friends for life from Tuesday through on with the week, we typically start to see the sleepovers happening on Fridays and Saturday nights. Friday night we have a movie night, so some of the little kids are already in their pajamas watching that movie together, and then that just sort of segues naturally over into a sleepover. And so there are times, that, families will just divide it up, and, they'll have maybe the siblings, orange bands will go to one room and they'll spend the night. Green bands will go to another room. I joked around here with my colleagues that I came back to my room in a break last year in one of the sessions, and I swear that like half of the entire teen program was back in my room, being entertained by Davis, my orange band, with just a billion kids that were in my room, just in there hanging out and looking at their phones together and all of that. So it really is a sweet way for them to be able to connect. I think we've got about 3 more minutes. So one of the things that Sasha has said, which I think is important also, if you try to join our Facebook page, make sure that you answer the security questions, so that way we know that you are legitimate and you're not just trying to bomb our Facebook page. So we will let you in once you answer those. And that's really where a lot of the conversation about Friends for Life will really start to pick up over the next couple of months as we head into July. I'll turn it back over to the rest of my esteemed panelists at this point to see if they have anything else that they'd like to add in our last couple of minutes that we have together tonight.
Something that I want to add, this is just a fun little note. At Friends for Life, a lot of times people will ask, do I need money for anything on site? Do I need to pay for anything at the conference? So in the last few years, we have had what we call our swag table. This is a fundraiser for our Better Together Society for our scholarship fund. So we will have CWD umbrellas, CWD dog bandanas, ornaments that are specific to this year's conference. So if you prepare to spend money on anything, that is the one thing that we will charge you for as a fundraiser. Another thing is some of our exhibitors may have products that they are selling in our exhibit hall. So if you find a new diabetes bag or some tapes that you want to purchase, just be prepared. But the majority of the things you'll get in the exhibit hall will be complimentary. So you don't have to worry about coming in and us charging you exorbitant amount of money to participate in anything because everything is included once you get there, minus those little tchotchkes.
Maybe I'll just add as well that about 2 weeks before the conference happens, you will get a letter. If you are the parent of a child at the conference, you will get a letter from the age group leaders that outlines a lot of the information we talked about tonight, as well as additional information, exactly where their room is, when should you drop them off at their room, exactly what's going to be happening if there is a low blood sugar, is there an opportunity to meet the leaders before the session starts. You will get all of that in an email. If you are the parent of a child that's 0 to 5 years old, you will also get a link to be able to tell us a little bit more about how you manage their diabetes. There's a really small ratio of healthcare providers to children with diabetes in the age group of our really littles. And they want to have as much information as possible to make sure that they can take the best care of your 0 to 5-year-old. So that's a second piece of information you'll get a little bit closer. So if you're walking out feeling like you just got so much, how are you going to remember it? You will get more in writing specific to the youth program as we get a little bit closer.
Well, and with that being said, I think that we are now officially out of time. We have now concluded our first session of our frequently asked questions, things you never knew you needed to know about Friends for Life Orlando 2025. It's going to be an amazing week, and we are really looking forward to having you join us there. As Sasha said, the recording for this is going to be available later this week. It'll be on our YouTube page. We will also probably post it on that Friends for Life Orlando Facebook page to let you know whenever it's live. If you have any questions between now and then, feel free to reach out to conference@childrenwithdiabetes.com, and we will get back with you to help answer any of those questions. And look for our second FAQ Zoom coming up soon in the next couple of months. And we really look forward to having you all join us in July. Thanks so much for spending your night with us here tonight, and we will see you very soon.